Imagine waking up every morning to a world designed to please you. Your phone glows before your eyes open. Notifications flash. The dopamine hits begin. You scroll, you swipe, you watch, and you feel it, that little spark of satisfaction, but it fades. It always fades. And before you even realize it, your thumb is moving again, searching, refreshing, consuming, not because you're enjoying it, but because you're chasing it. You tell yourself you're relaxing, but deep down, you know something's off. You're busy, yet unfulfilled. Connected, yet lonely. Surrounded by pleasure, yet starved for meaning. So, what's happening to us? Why does life, despite being filled with comfort, still feel so painfully empty? We are going to expose a silent force that may be sabotaging your success, happiness, and potential without you even realizing it. This force is the pursuit of pleasure, the habit of chasing short-term satisfaction while life quietly slips away. It is a subtle, invisible trap that keeps you from making the changes you know you need to make. And the worst part? Most people never break free from it. But you will, because by the end of this video, you will not only understand how the constant search for pleasure is controlling your mind, you'll also discover the most powerful way to break free. And trust me, the final insight may change how you see happiness forever. Let's start with a truth that feels almost impossible to admit. We live in a world where pleasure has become too easy. One tap, one click, one swipe, and every desire is met. We've created a universe of instant gratification, endless entertainment, infinite options, constant stimulation. And yet, the easier pleasure becomes, the less joy we seem to feel. The reason is simple. Pleasure was never meant to be this accessible. Our ancestors had to earn their satisfaction through struggle, effort, and meaning. Now, we consume it like fast food for the soul. The Roman philosopher Seneca once warned, "The more pleasures a man captures, the more masters he must serve." He meant that each pleasure, once captured, becomes your ruler. And today, we've crowned thousands of them: glowing screens, comfort foods, social validation, status, entertainment. We think we're free, but pleasure has made us obedient slaves to the next little hit that keeps us just happy enough to never question why we're unhappy. Here's the secret most people never realize. Pleasure is not the problem. Attachment to pleasure is. Pleasure is supposed to enhance life, not replace it. But when pleasure becomes your goal, when it becomes your compass, it leads you in circles. You chase one high after another, mistaking stimulation for satisfaction. You confuse excitement for happiness. And over time, your ability to experience real joy, the kind that comes from meaning, begins to fade. That's because of dopamine, the brain's chemical of desire. Most people think dopamine is released when we feel good. It's not. It's released when we anticipate feeling good. Every notification, every click, every what's next moment your brain fires dopamine, not for joy, but for hope. Hope that something will make you feel alive. But that moment never lasts because your brain adapts. It starts craving bigger hits, stronger sensations, faster results. You become hooked on the pursuit, not the pleasure itself. This is what psychologists call the pleasure trap, a cycle where the things that once brought joy now bring only emptiness, and yet you can't stop reaching for them. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote, "Pleasure cannot be pursued. It must ensue as a side effect of living a meaningful life." That line is everything. Pleasure is a byproduct of meaning, not its substitute. When you chase meaning, pleasure follows naturally. When you chase pleasure, meaning disappears. The people who live the richest, most fulfilling lives aren't the ones who chase what feels good. They're the ones who do what matters. Because meaning is not always pleasant. It's often painful, but it's real. And reality, even when it hurts, always nourishes more than illusion ever could. So where does this endless chase come from? The truth is, our brains evolved for scarcity. We were built to seek pleasure because it once meant survival, food, shelter, reproduction. But now, in a world of abundance, that ancient instinct betrays us. It keeps us addicted to ease, trapped in comfort, numbed by abundance. Our ancestors sought pleasure as a reward for struggle. We seek it as an escape from struggle. And that, right there, is the difference between a life of growth and a life of decay. But here's where it gets darker. The system you live in, the apps you use, the content you consume, the brands you follow, they all profit from your pleasure. Every platform you open has one goal: to keep you hooked. They study your behavior, measure your hesitation. You're not just consuming pleasure, pleasure is consuming you. Every tap, every scroll, every indulgence rewires your brain's reward system. It teaches you to expect instant payoff, to reject patience, to fear boredom. And the more you indulge, the more your tolerance grows. You need more pleasure just to feel normal. And when the high fades, emptiness returns. It's a quiet, modern tragedy, a generation overstimulated yet underfulfilled. Nietzsche warned about this over a century ago. He spoke of the last man, a creature who no longer dreams, no longer strives, no longer believes in greatness, a being who seeks only comfort, safety, and pleasure. The last man, Nietzsche wrote, has left the places where life was hard for places where it is easy. He doesn't suffer, but he doesn't live either. He confuses comfort for happiness, entertainment for meaning, and pleasure for peace. And in the process, he becomes shallow, content, but never fulfilled. Sound familiar? Because that's the world we're living in. The pursuit of pleasure kills the capacity for depth. When everything must feel good, you stop seeking truth. You stop growing. You stop asking, what's worth suffering for? Because you've built a life designed to avoid suffering. But here's the paradox. The avoidance of pain is the cause of more pain. Every moment of meaning requires discomfort. Every step of growth demands effort. Every genuine connection risks vulnerability. You can't avoid pain without avoiding life. Pleasure promises happiness but gives you numbness instead. And numbness is not peace. It's the slow death of passion. So how do you break free? How do you stop being ruled by pleasure and start living with purpose again? It begins with a shift from consumption to creation. Every time you create something, an idea, a skill, a story, a body of work, you reclaim your power. You remind your brain that fulfillment comes from building, not from binging. Creation is how humans were meant to experience joy, not through passive pleasure, but through purposeful progress. And that's where discipline comes in. Discipline isn't about rejecting pleasure, it's about retraining it. It's about teaching your brain that the real reward isn't the hit, it's the habit. When you wake up early, when you work through discomfort, when you act despite resistance, you start building a new kind of pleasure, earned pleasure, a pleasure born from pride, not escape. James Clear, in Atomic Habits, explains it perfectly. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. When you choose what's meaningful over what's easy, you cast a vote for your higher self. And when you choose ease, you vote for your decay. The more you delay instant gratification, the more you strengthen your identity. You stop being a slave to pleasure and start being a master of it. Because here's the truth. You can't control what feels good, but you can control why it feels good. There are two types of pleasure. Passive pleasure, the one that demands nothing from you. Scrolling, eating, escaping. And active pleasure, the one you earn through effort. Learning, building, creating, growing. Passive pleasure numbs the soul. Active pleasure awakens it. When you find joy in creation, in progress, in purpose, pleasure becomes powerful again. Not as a drug, but as a reward. But there's one more layer, the most important one. The reason so many people can't escape the pleasure trap isn't laziness. It's fear. Pleasure keeps you safe from the unknown. It gives you a predictable way to avoid uncertainty, to silence the discomfort of growth. But everything you want in life, meaning, love, confidence, purpose, exists on the other side of uncertainty. To grow, you must let go of comfort. To feel alive, you must be willing to feel everything. As Carl Jung once said, no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Meaning is born not from what feels good, but from what transforms you. Here's the truth. Pleasure isn't evil. It's just incomplete. It was never meant to be your destination, only your companion. It's a byproduct of purpose, not a replacement for it. When you build your life around what feels good, you live in cycles of craving and regret. But when you build it around what's right, pleasure finds you naturally, not as escape, but as celebration. The purpose of life was never to feel good all the time. It was to feel fully, to experience joy, sorrow, love, loss, growth, change, all of it. Because to numb the lows is to flatten the highs. To chase only pleasure is to live half a life. The goal is not to eliminate pleasure, but to elevate it, to make it sacred again. So the next time your mind whispers, one more scroll, one more episode, one more indulgence, stop. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What meaning am I running from? Because that moment, the one where you choose to act, to build, to feel, that's where life begins again. Pleasure fades, purpose transforms, and when you finally stop chasing what feels good, you start living what is good. Happiness is not the absence of problems, but the ability to deal with them. Viktor Frankl, and that is the kind of happiness that no pleasure can ever replace.